of Maduro is an imperialist war for a capitalist class.
It's like deja vu all over again. A sea of keffiyehs at a rally for Venezuela's dictator. In case you're wondering, it is not a coincidence. The same anti-Semitic filth clogging U.S. streets, waving Venezuelan flags, were the same ones doing it, waving Palestinian flags. And they are being paid to do it, or at least there is a lot of money supporting them. These protests that we're led to believe are some kind of spontaneous pop-up anger at the injustice of America, well, they are not spontaneous at all. They are orchestrated by a group called the People's Forum, and they are the same outfit behind the pro-Palestinian campus mobs that took over college campuses after October 7th. They're bankrolled by a guy named Neville Roy Singham. He's a tech millionaire and a Marxist with strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party. He's funneled millions into activist networks, pushing a radical playbook, anti-Israel, anti-West, and now pro-Maduro. With us now, Frannie Block, reporter for the Free Press, who's been investigating Neville Roy Singham's funding network. Wow, number one. Number two, how do we know that he's actually doing this?
So if you look into the financial records of the People's Forum, and anybody can do this looking up their 990 tax forms, you can start to follow this web of shell organizations that lead back to Neville Roy Singham and his wife, Jody Evans. And as you mentioned, Neville Roy Singham, he's a tech millionaire. He's also a Marxist, and he has very close ties to part of the propaganda machine of the Chinese Communist Party. And from 2017 to 2022, we were able to trace at least $20 million that was funneled into the People's Forum. And the People's Forum has actually even publicly admitted this as well. So it's not really a secret that they're trying to hide. But Neville Roy Singham and his wife, they're involved in many different activist organizations that have been instrumental in so many different protests that we've seen break out in American streets over the past few years. As you mentioned, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protests, also anti-ICE protests. The People's Forum has really become kind of this hub for socialist far-left causes, and they're really essentially the people who work there are professional activists, and their goal is to mobilize as many people as possible.
So let's be fair about this. Are they paid activists who organize, and then there happens to be a lot of neo-Marxist sympathizers who come out and support generally Marxist concepts, pro-Palestinian, anti-ICE, pro-Maduro, pro-Chinese, effectively, the sort of the same 1970s crew? Or are the protesters themselves also being paid?
So what we know is that the People's Forum has a staff of people who do receive money for their jobs at the People's Forum. And as I said, I would interpret them as essentially being professional activists. With that being said, we can't say that for all of the people also out on the streets. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is that when you see these protests pop up, highly organized, they're not just spontaneous. These are protest movements that are highly
It's hard
planned.
to imagine there's that many Venezuelan flags available on short notice.
Correct, and there's signs and posters and chants that everybody seems to know already. And part of what this group does is that they're actually essentially an educational hub for socialism, you could say. They have classes that people can attend both in person in their fancy Manhattan headquarters and online. One of them, they did a summer school for socialism over the summer last year. That's just one example of the type of courses. I haven't sat in on it, actually.
Oh, all right. They're also sort of this web that extends out, right? The Chicago Teachers Union, which represents the teachers in Chicago that oversee a group of highly funded schools, the City of Chicago Public Schools, among which many of their children cannot read or write at grade level. In fact, some schools don't have a single kid, but they do know how to organize. Chicago's Teachers Union tweet, "Emergency protests, no war on Venezuela, stop the bombings, join us in the streets to demand an end to U.S. aggression against Venezuela today at Federal Plaza, 5 p.m., at least it's after school hours." So this would be the question. what is sort of the web of these organizations? They go from sort of BLM through the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, now pro-Maduro. Is it not dissimilar to how the Soviets supported the PLO and the Black Panther movement? Is sort of anything that to destabilize America, these people are for?
So you're absolutely right that these organizations, they don't operate independently. Often when you see these very large protest movements, you'll see 10 to 15 different, at least, organizations who have their logos on the brochures going out advertising for them. And many of them are connected. If you look at a group like the People's Forum, they also are connected to Code Pink, which is a group run by Neville Roysingham wife. These are the people who often you'll see kind of harassing members of Congress in the halls of their offices and videos like that. So all of these groups tend to be connected and have some sort of connection. And in some cases, particularly with Neville Roysingham's network, they also share financial backers and financial ties.
Wow, fascinating. As we always say in journalism, follow the money, which is what Frannie and her associates, friends at the Free Press have done. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.